We are live. Let's get it. What's cracking, big dogs? Welcome back to the HQ. Welcome back to the channel. I am Nicholas. This is Big Dogs Gotta Eat BDGE Fantasy Football. We're talking waiver wire targets for week 4. We're going to do this every Tuesday. Every Tuesday, probably between 11 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to hop on live with y'all. I have the chat disabled. It's in another tab, so I don't see y'all throwing out trade questions and shit at me. So save that stuff. Save that for the comments after the video. Make sure that if you enjoy the video, you slap that thumbs up. I see we got triple-digit numbers of people in here. Hit that thumbs up button. 125 people, 5 thumbs up. Let's get it. Waiver wire targets. We're going to talk about just my top guys. I saved the entire exclusive blog post for Patreon. So if you want all of the top waiver wires, every position, fab budget broken down, would I use the number one waiver wire, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, make sure you head over to patreon.com/BDGE. I think the first guy we got to talk about, we'll start with the quarterbacks. And I don't want to dive too much into them because most of them are not available in Superflex, and the other ones are probably not worth picking up in one quarterback leagues. But if you watched Fade the Public this morning, which I suggest you go check out after you hang out with me live for a little bit, we went in on Danny Dimes. The boy looked good, led a fourth quarter comeback. They were down 18 points. The kid came back, and he did everything we wanted him to do. It was, it's Tampa Bay's defense, and they are improved, but they're not fucking, they're not Green Bay Packers improved. They're not the best defense in the league. They still have shitty personnel. Todd Bowles is looking good, but listen, it was still better to see that out of Danny Dimes than it was to not see it. He ended up throwing for a ton of yards. He got in the end zone twice. He ran the ball effectively, which is the biggest takeaway here. He was super athletic. He was someone that ran for, I believe, like 1,300 yards during his time in Duke. So he's going to put up those consistent rushing numbers for you, which is what makes him so valuable in both one quarterback leagues and Superflex leagues, right? So Danny Dimes ended up rushing 2 scores in, 4 total touchdowns his first game. Not going to go crazy, but he seems like someone who's going to give you a really nice floor week to week. So he is absolutely on the streaming radar going forward, keeping it with the New York Giants. Obviously, we have the devastating injury to our boy Saquon. We'll take a moment of silence. This is why you always diversify the revenue, man. If you were picking 101, even in best ball drafts, if you had a bunch of season-long drafts, and you had the 101 in a few of them, it's why you don't stick with the same player every time. One, it's like, if you went with Zeke every single time, you're probably a little bit disappointed. If you went with Saquon every time, then yes, you are fucking hurting right now. I feel for y'all. But Saquon Barkley suffers a high ankle sprain, which is going to put him back. They said 4 to 8 weeks, probably on the longer side. I saw a New York Giants beat reporter come out and say that it's very possible, I believe they have their week 11 bye, that he returns in week 12. So that would be a long time away, and that's like 2 weeks before most people's fantasy playoffs, which hurts. But Saquon is also like a freak fucking human being. I don't even know if you can consider him a human being at this point, just based off his stature and his build. He's like Adrian Peterson, where his injuries might take like 50% of the time to heal. It wouldn't surprise me, right? He dealt with a high ankle sprain, he said, back in college, and that took him 2 weeks to get back onto the field. So I wouldn't be surprised. I know they put the timetable at 8 weeks, but I wouldn't be surprised if Saquon Barkley is just his body works in overtime at all times, and he's back on the field in 4 to 6 weeks. But I'm not going to bank on that. Obviously, we have Wayne Gulman, who comes in and becomes the guy in the backfield for the New York Giants. Once Saquon Barkley left, Wayne Gulman was in on 41 of 44 snaps for the G-men. He didn't look good. I mean, he carried the ball 5 times for 13 yards. They were just going through the air. They were confident with Daniel Jones. So the way I look at Gulman is he's going to get the volume. He's going to be the guy there. I wouldn't be surprised if they brought in a veteran presence behind him, and that would pretty much fuck up Gulman's entire any sort of upside you think he might have. The other problem, too, is that he's not going to catch passes like Saquon Barkley did. And you might think that, like, the Giants' defense is battered and they're terrible, right? And they're going to give you a lot of points. And now Daniel Jones are going to pass the ball more and be more effective. However, he's not a pass catcher, really. He played on 41 snaps, like I said. He ended up seeing 1 target, and he didn't catch it. So, like, you'd love to say the upside is there because he could play the 3-down role, but I don't know. I don't see him getting much work in the passing game, and he's not a very effective runner, right? He runs like a 4.6. He's got good size. He's like 6 foot, 215, so he could definitely produce from a size level in the NFL, but it just might be a 2-down plotter role. Or, I mean, he might get all 3 downs, but he might just not be effective because he wasn't that effective in college. Although he did handle a workhorse load. He had over, I think, 500 carries over his final 2 seasons at Clemson, which is a Power 5 school. We always like to see someone who can handle the load at a Power 5 school, and that's usually what translates into the NFL. Josh Jacobs. So he can handle the load. My concern is one that he's just not very good. He's not fast. He doesn't have the playmaking ability. He's very below average in terms of speed, burst, agility, and he's just obviously not Saquon Barkley. So I'm going to temper expectations. I will say, though, the Giants' run blocking line is grading out very, very well per PFF. They are, I believe, the 4th best run blocking line per PFF so far, and that is, not including what running backs do. They do lead the NFL in yards per carry right now, the New York Giants. 6.3 yards per carry. That is a product of Saquon Barkley, of course. But the offensive line grading has nothing to do with Saquon Barkley. So it might be a little bit of a better situation than I'm giving him credit for. And he pretty much backs his way into a flex role. And maybe he does get involved in the passing game. And that makes him someone that you can have in the RB2 conversation because his offense is going to be a little bit better than expected. And the defense is going to let up a lot of points. So Gulman is the number 1 waiver wire pickup at the running back position. I also like Rex Burkhead a lot. We saw how involved he was, but that's obviously going to be peeled back a little bit when James White gets back into the lineup. So I like Burkhead as someone who's he's a dual handcuff, and I've mentioned this before. He's a guy who is a handcuff to both James White and Sony Michel. Sony Michel's looked. We'll leave out any words just so YouTube doesn't have to fucking ban me from my channel. Sony Michel's looked not good. And Rex Burkhead has looked very good. So he's getting the touches. He's getting receptions and targets and everything. So he's very involved in this offense. So Julian Edelman possibly banged up. That means more play time for Rex Burkhead if he does miss time. I like Burkhead. He's not like a priority ad in my opinion. I think at this point, if Alexander Mattison is on the waiver wire and you're a Dalvin Cook owner, he's a must-own handcuff. Same thing with Tony Pollard for Ezekiel Elliott. Both of those guys are must-own handcuffs. They will be getting 95% of the snaps if those guys go down in any given week. So Tony Pollard, Alexander Mattison, must own handcuffs. Who else we got to talk about? Darrell Williams. This KC backfield is just very, very, very tricky right now. Darrell Williams, now he didn't get the touchdowns. Obviously, LaShawn McCoy got in twice, but Darrell Williams led the backfield in snaps and targets and routes, run and receptions, whatever. So it seems like he has a Damian Williams role. LaShawn McCoy obviously retweaked the ankle in this game, so we have to see the severity of that. Darwyn Thompson is obviously not a thing. I don't know why people were getting excited, and I was getting so many fucking Darwyn Thompson season tweets. He played like 4 snaps prior to week 3, and then he played 5 snaps in this game. So they clearly don't see him as y'all see him, so you need to relax with the Darwyn Thompson stuff, the blasphemy over there. Darrell Williams is an interesting pickup. We don't know the severity of Damian Williams' knee injury. What I will say is he didn't even get a limited practice in last week, which is usually not good. You need to start seeing limited practices ASAP. So monitor practice reports if he does miss time. And if Shady's actually banged up, Darrell Williams obviously becomes a smash play just because it's the Chiefs offense and someone's going to produce there. They throw the ball to their running backs a lot. They were doing it with Damian Williams, and you saw them do it with Darrell Williams, right? He caught, I think, 5 passes for 40-something yards. He went over 100 total yards from scrimmage. I think he will end up getting some of the goal line touches if Damian continues to miss time. So he could be a very valuable play. He's not as talented as Damian. He's pretty much redundant to Damian Williams' talent. So as soon as Damian's back in the lineup, I expect Darrell Williams to take a very, very, very far back seat. Like we're in a fucking limo right now. Darrell Williams is in the back popping champagne, but he got benched, so he probably won't be popping champagne. Probably be opening up water bottles. Let's move to wide receivers. There are some really, really, really good wide receivers still on the wire. And all of my waiver wire pickups, again, if you want the entire article where I break down, it's like usually like 30 fucking players that I end up doing. Quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, tight ends, the best defensive streams for the week. That's all on Patreon, patreon.com/BDGE. That's where you get waiver wire. That's where you get my weekly rankings. That's where you will get a private live stream that I do every Saturday. And that's where you will get access to our forum and community where you could ask us questions. And we are much more likely to answer you on there than we are on YouTube just because there's so much nonsense being thrown around all the time. Patreon.com/BDGE. You can get the entire waiver wire pickup. But the way I do it is I look on Yahoo, and if you go on Yahoo, they show you the ownership percentages. So on these waiver wire articles or videos, I only talk about players that are owned in less than 60% of leagues. So I'm not going to come out here and I've seen waiver wire articles this week that are telling you to stream the Chargers defense against Miami. Like, where the fuck is the Chargers defense available this week. Like I tweeted out on Sunday morning, I was like, before the games start this week, if you have room, grab the Chargers defense because they play against Miami next week. And now they're 90% owned. So you can't pick them up. So I'm only talking about guys that are owned in 60% of leagues or fewer. There are some really good wide receivers on the list. And 3 of them are Nicole Hartman, Marquez Valdes, and Nelson Agholor. Agholor has basically backed into this ridiculously high volume role with Desean Jackson and Alshon Jeffery banged up. He hasn't been particularly great in it, right? He's had some drops. He's had some bad plays, but he's gotten 11 targets and 12 targets over the last 2 weeks. He's caught 16 passes for 157 yards and 3 touchdowns. He is getting in the end zone. Carson Wentz is not looking great, but if he has to zone in on a target, then that guy is probably going to produce. Now, Desean Jackson is almost definitely going to miss this upcoming game. The tricky part is they play on Thursday night. So Alshon Jeffery is limited, right? He's been limited. So I don't know if they push him. Like they might not push him to play on Thursday Night Football. If he doesn't, that obviously means Nelson Agholor should have another big game. It is against the Green Bay Packers pass defense, which has been very, 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 very stiff this year. The run defense, though, is one that they could probably take advantage of. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what they do with Miles Sanders this week if they give him like a full workhorse workload coming off his first big, production game last week where he went over 120 yards from scrimmage. But Nelson Agholor becomes a very good play if Alshon Jeffery is out again, because Desean Jackson is probably out. So I would probably drop between, $5 and $10 if you're going to be able to throw Agholor right into the lineup, because after that, I mean, he doesn't become useless, but Agholor is one of those guys where like it's almost impossible to predict when to play him. Like he'll have his boom games every once in a while, but for the most part, you need these guys to be sidelined for him to do so. So Agholor is good. Nicole Hardman, man, he's actually running as a wide receiver 3 right now. He saw like 10 fewer snaps than both Demarcus Robinson and Sammy Watkins, but they're running plays for him, right? They're scripting plays for him, and he's getting these deep passes. So he went 4 for 61 and a touchdown last week, in which he got called back. There was a holding penalty that called back a 70-yard touchdown, so he could have had 2 monster bombs, and then he goes off for another like 80-yard touchdown this week, catches 2 passes, 97 yards and a touchdown, also rushes for 7 yards. So he goes over 100 yards from scrimmage, and this is just what we're going to get from him, I think, on a weekly basis. With Mahomes just playing out of his fucking mind, there are just going to be so many deep passes. And I know like Demarcus Robinson is much higher owned in Yahoo leagues. I would rather have Nicole Hardman. I mean, I get that Robinson had that monster week last week, but outside of like this one catch that he had, which was a gorgeous fucking catch, it was like a beautiful 18-yard one-handed catch in the end zone. If he didn't catch that ball, say that tips off his fingers, like you're looking at a complete dud game for Demarcus Robinson. And I think Nicole Hardman is much better, much safer in terms of like predictiveness and in them, scripting up plays for him and them taking deep shots to him. So I think this is success that you're going to continue to see going forward. And he's only like 50% owned. So I would pick up Hardman. Like I would, if you're desperate at wide receiver, I'm okay using the number 1 waiver wire on Nicole Hardman. I get that, you might want to use it on a running back, and that makes sense if you want to hold out for a better option. But Nicole Hardman is someone that I think is going to continue to put up monster numbers as long as Tyreek Hill is gone. And we really have no idea how long that's going to be. So Nicole Hardman is someone I'm going to pick up and throw right into my flex spot. The last guy, and I can't believe he's only 52% owned, is Marquez Valdes of the Green Bay Packers, man. Like, I get that he had the dud week in week 2, but he's here to stay. Led the team in targets, 10 targets to Davante Adams is fucking 4 targets, 6 catches, 99 yards, and the long touchdown pass. Clearly, him and Aaron Rodgers have some chemistry, and the best part about it is, they have the toughest part of their schedule out of the way. And you're going to hear me and Noah talk about this a little deeper in today's we're filming our top trade targets video for week 4 today. And we're going to talk about Davante Adams and what we should do with him. Should we sell him high because he's not looking good? Should we buy him low because he's still very good and just not playing well right now? We'll talk about Davante Adams in our video that we shoot today, releases tomorrow. But if you look at the schedule, I mean, they've gotten the hardest games out of the way for their passing defense. Next week, they play at home against Philly, who have let up 300 yards passing per game over their first 3 games of the season. They'll be without their top cornerback, Ronald Darby. That's a smash spot. Then you play Dallas, Detroit, Oakland, KC, LA Chargers, the only 2 tough teams. The only teams that are not top 10 in terms of fantasy points allowed to wide receivers right now are Dallas and the Chargers on that schedule. And we'll have Byron Jones probably shadowing Davante Adams, and we'll have Casey Hayward shadowing Davante Adams in that other game. So Marquez Valdes should be the recipient of a ton of targets and a ton of production going forward for Aaron Rodgers, who is ready to smash in week 4. So I love MVS. I think he's a phenomenal ball player. I think he's going to get a lot of deep targets from Aaron Rodgers. And this offense is eventually going to pick up on the passing side of things now that the tough schedule is out of the way. So we have Nicole, we have MVS, we have Aguilar. If I had to pick them up in certain order, I think it depends on – I would probably go Marquez Valdes Scantling, Mikko Hardman, Nelson Aguilar, because I think Aguilar is kind of, just a fill-in guy for the next week or two, depending on injuries there. I think Nicole Hartman is a good play for the next month, but once Tyreek Hill goes back, we don't know what his role is, but we know MVS is the clear wide receiver 2 and producing in some games as a wide receiver 1 with Aaron Rodgers. So MVS would be my favorite long-term play because he'll be here to stay for the entirety of the season. Y'all, make sure that if you're enjoying this video, I know we got a lot of people in here listening. If you haven't hit the thumbs up button, I would very much appreciate that. I see we're only at like 93 thumbs up. Let's get over 100 people. All you got to do is scroll down. Just scroll down on your phone. It ain't that hard. Just scroll down and hit that button, baby. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to move into tight ends. Now, there aren't a lot of good tight ends on the wire as per like fucking every single week, except for week 1. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to pick up Will Dissly, unfortunately. I can't believe I'm actually saying this, to be honest with you. 45% owned, so he's still available in more than 50% of leagues. Will Dissly just got it done again. Last week, 5 targets, 5 catches, 50 yards, 2 touchdowns. This week, 7 targets, 6 catches, 62 yards, and a touchdown. The guy is getting it done, and it's thanks to Russell Wilson having to throw the ball more. This was a concern going into the year. Russell Wilson's pass attempt totals. What was going to happen? And we are seeing what is happening. And it's not so much the play calling. It's not Russell Wilson. It's not the wide receivers. It is that their defense can't stop a motherfucker for anything. Week 1 looked great. 21-20 victory over Cincinnati, but that is Cincinnati. Week 2, they let up 26 points to Pittsburgh. Week 3, they let up 33 points to the Saints without Drew Brees. This defense is letting up a lot of points, and it's allowing Russell Wilson to have to throw the ball a ton, which is phenomenal for fantasy. He threw the ball fucking 50 times over the weekend, 50 times. And I don't know what his high in pass attempt totals is in his career, but I can't imagine he's gone over 50 pass attempts too many times. But if he's going to keep throwing the ball, if he's going to keep chucking the ball up, Will Dissly is going to keep eating. And it breaks my heart to say it because it just makes no fucking sense. I don't understand what Will Dissly even is. He's like a slow, like not even – I'm going to pull up his player profile right now. 6'4", 262, so like good size. Didn't produce in college, never broke out in college. A 4.87 40-yard dash, 39th percentile speed score, 2nd percentile burst score. 98% of tight ends have more burst than Will Dissly in the NFL. I don't know. I guess it's just being forced into a good situation. He has 3 deep targets on the year, which per player profiler is 2nd in the NFL among tight ends. 14% target share is top 12 amongst the position. 12 receptions is number 10. Receiving yards, 124 is 11th. And his completed air yards is 10th. Red zone receptions, 3rd among tight ends in the NFL. Target quality rating, and this is obviously the most important part, 6th in the NFL. So he's getting very high quality targets. That's what's going to happen when you are tethered to Russell Wilson. So Will Dissly, I guess, just by the fact that he is tethered to Russell Wilson becomes a good option here. Yes, I just actually swapped over to the chat real quick and saw that someone asked, are we going to be streaming on Twitch again? Yes. So last week we actually did the first ever Twitch stream doing our top trade targets video. So we do it live on Twitch, but obviously we post it the next day on YouTube, the full length edited version of the video, which is more helpful because obviously we put the charts and the player profilers and all those kind of things into the video. So that will still be coming out tomorrow on YouTube, 5 a.m. Eastern time, every damn day. We queue it up, baby. But you can join us on Twitch. It's twitch.tv/BigDogsFantasy, and we will be going live around 4 to 4:15. So y'all will get to see the behind the scenes of me and Noah doing the trade targets video. We'll probably answer some Q&A and talk some bullshit outside of the video. So join us on Twitch. You can go follow us, I believe. I don't even know what the terminology on Twitch is, but it's twitch.tv/BigDogsFantasy. I'll put that in the description as well as pin that in the comments. Join us 4 p.m. I believe it will be around 4 to 4:15 p.m. Eastern time on Twitch. that's all I got for y'all today in terms of waiver wire. Maybe I'll hop into the chat in a second and answer some questions. If y'all enjoyed the video, if you found this informational, please make sure you hit that thumbs up button. It really helps me out on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're doing fantasy videos like every week, all this nonsense. Drop some comments down below if you got any questions for us. And make sure you hit us up on Patreon, bro. Patreon.com/BDGE. You will get the full waiver wire write-up exclusive to Patreon, private live streams, weekly rankings, community, whatever. Anyone have any good insight on Stefon Diggs, like something actually valuable outside of he sucks? No, he's a great player, but the pass attempts are just miserable. And he clearly likes Adam Thielen. That was one of my bigger takeaways from the preseason, was just watching the Vikings, and the chemistry between Cousins and Thielen was on a whole nother fucking planet compared to the chemistry between Cousins and Diggs. So Diggs is fucking, he's basically unstartable at this point. And I would try to move him if you could, but he's not really a sell high candidate because he hasn't done shit in order to sell high, you know? You got what I'm saying? What else do we got? Is Duke Johnson droppable for Gulman and non-PPR? Yeah, I'd make that move. That's fine. Duke's clearly not really getting the work. One, he's never going to take over as a workhorse because they obviously really like Carlos Hyde. He's not getting the goal line carries, and since it's standard, I mean, his passing chops really don't fucking matter. All right, that's all I got for y'all today. Make sure you watch today's Fade the Public. We recapped all of Week 3 fantasy football, all of our top takeaways from the games on Sunday. That was posted this morning. Again, hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Patreon.com/BDGE. I'll see y'all tomorrow morning. Peace. And Twitch.tv/BigDogsFantasy. Love you.